Greetings, Professor Nalepa here with Dubspot.com. In this week's Ableton Live tutorial, we're going to take a look at a great filtering technique. Works well for both live performance and in the studio. This is a trick I learned from my good friend Justin Boreta. Boreta is a member of the Glitch Mob. They're killing it right now, playing down in Miami at Ultra this weekend. They also have an official Daft Punk remix on the Tron Remix soundtrack, dropping the first week of April. He's also got collaboration with EPROM called Nasty Ways. That is indeed nasty. And a beautiful body of work with Comma together as Slide Camp, which we're listening to right now, a remix of one of my tracks they did. They have a full-length dropping later this year. So Boreta was a guest at our Dubspot 2-day Ableton Live weekend workshop we hosted about a year and a half ago here in Los Angeles. Dubspot produced a series of these events at cities all over the country. We had a bunch of great artists come in, share tips, tricks, career advice. It was a really inspiring way to spend a weekend, and I learned a few things myself, and this is one of those tips that I picked up. So, without further ado, here in our built-in effects, you can drop an auto filter here on the master bus. So when you adjust the frequency, by default it loads it up here as a low-pass filter. So when you decrease the frequency, only the low frequencies come through. And if you switch it there to a high-pass filter, now that filter filters out the low end. Okay? So you can go and click on the MIDI map mode button here, click on a parameter on the auto filter, turn that knob on your MIDI controller, and now you can see that that knob is mapped. And if I get out of the map mode and I turn that knob, you can go through and roll off the low ends. So if you do this in a way where, as a fill, right before you do a big heavy drop, you can actually give it that human touch, especially in the studio. It's a great way to give some motion to your tracks, and in live performance, really gives it adds some excitement to what you're doing. The problem here is when you have the auto filter set like this and the knob is turned all the way to the left, the auto filter is actually still engaged because it's on right here. So let's take a look at how you can deal with this. If this was Boreta's trick. So you click on the auto filter, choose under the edit menu to group. The shortcut is Command G. What that does is it loads up the auto filter into an audio effects rack as one of the chains. So let's right click on this chain and rename it, and we'll call this auto filter chain. All right? And then if we make a second chain here, now we have basically chain that has nothing on it. So you just right click in the blank area down here and choose create chain. So now we have these two chains. This button here is the show chain select editor, and we can see here what we've got going on. So let me get some music going here. So basically, currently the way this is set up, this little orange bar here is the chain select ruler. So if I move it over, now we hear nothing because they're both set here to 0. But Boreta's technique is grab this auto filter chain and have it so that it goes all the way across, but then go here on the left side and have it start at 1. So now you can see that when the value is all the way down, you're only hearing the unaffected audio. So let's just click on this MIDI map mode and let's map this chain select ruler to that same knob. Okay, and you can see it shows up here. So when I turn this knob, you can see it actually is both turning the filter frequency and it's affecting the chain. But when it's all the way down, now it's actually not going through this auto filter at all. It's just playing the clean track. Okay? Okay, so this is pretty cool. This is the first half of it. So the fun doesn't stop there. Let's keep going. So the rest of his technique involved using these macro controls. So these macro knobs can be used to map to a bunch of different parameters inside the rack, and then you can go through at the end of the day and save your rack so that you can create this awesome multiple effect thing and then just bring it in so you don't have to do that over and over again. So let's go here and click on the map mode button, and let's click on that frequency value and map this to this first macro knob controller. Now the great thing about Ableton is if you try to override something you've already mapped, or if you accidentally hit quit or new, while you're actually playing audio, it'll warn you first. It'll say, hey, are you sure you want to do this? And I'm going to hit yes, I do want to do this. All right. And so now, if I turn this frequency knob, you can see this macro control is mapped to the frequency. But let's also go through and map this Q, which is basically the vertical position here. It's how much of a bump it's going to have. Let's map that to this exact same macro knob. All right. So now if I were to turn that macro knob, you can see as I turn it, it goes really way up. So what we can do, that's a little extreme. So let's go through here and change the min and max values here. Right now it's set to 0.2 all the way up to 3. Let's do something a little bit more in the middle. We just want a little bit of a bump. So I'm going to set this first one to 0.7 and maybe the second one to, let's do like 1.4. Right? And then I'm going to click on get out of this map mode. And if I turn this macro knob, you can see as I turn it up, you get a little bit of a bump there, right? And I'm going to click on this MIDI map mode button, click that macro knob, turn the same parameter on my MIDI controller, and you can see now that this knob on the MIDI controller is mapped to these same two things. It's the chain and this macro knob. So let's go through here and play this jam. So what this does is essentially as you get higher up in the frequency, it gives it a little bit bump, because as you roll off all the low end, the track ends up getting a little quieter. But what this does is it kind of increases the high frequencies a little bit. It gives you a little bit more of that lasery sound. And then when you turn the knob on your MIDI controller all the way to the left, so it's all the way down, it's actually playing the audio through the second chain, and there's no effects here. So it's letting it go through completely unaffected. And why is this important? Because if you have a track that's mastered and it's fully loud, you want all the bass to be pure through that big sound system. So the way this works is right before you drop the nasty, filthy thing on the one, you can ride that filter up and then drop it down there. All right, so what do we got here? So we put an auto filter on, then we grouped it, and we did some mapping. We mapped this macro knob here to both the frequency and the Q. In the map mode here, we were able to go through and change the min and max value, and then we mapped with MIDI mapping one control knob or fader on our MIDI controller to this macro knob and also here to this chain, and it allows us to go through and have the audio affected when we want the effect on, but it'll pass through unaffected when it's all the way down. So that's your tip of the week. I'm Professor Nalepa, and we'll be back with another Ableton Live tutorial video next week on Dubspot.com. Got all the info on the blog post here about Barettas' activities. Glitch Mob Tour getting announced. They've got a bunch of shows coming up, and their Daft Punk remix on that Tron soundtrack is absolutely disgusting. Check that out. All these tracks here will be available for free download. See you guys next week.
Welcome to Dubspot. We believe in providing you hands-on experience right away. Whether you're completely new to music and want to turn the sounds in your head into a musical reality, or you're an experienced artist looking to refine your skills and add new tools to your arsenal, we're ready to meet you at your level. For students of all ages, all levels, and all styles of music, Dubspot is here to help you achieve your goals. With course offerings both online wherever you are and at our school in the heart of New York City, we are ready to guide you through the next phase of your musical transformation. Whether you want to produce music, DJ, or do both, you've come to the right place. Come explore Dubspot for yourself. Become a part of our community and make music.